If there's one thing Hollywood has always valued above all else, especially for women, it's beauty. That's why so many actresses go to great lengths to preserve their youthful appearance, hoping it'll help them stay in the spotlight just a little longer. But what about her? Do you remember her? There's a reason she disappeared from Hollywood, and it might not be what you think. While physical appearance can definitely influence an actress's staying power, there are often deeper, more complicated reasons why some stars decide to step away or are pushed out of the industry altogether. So if you're curious to find out what really happened to some of these women, keep watching. Let's begin with American actress Sean Young. Most fans remember her for her iconic roles in science fiction classics. But what really happened to her career? Born Mary Sean Young on November 20th, 1959, she came from a creative family. Her father was a TV producer and journalist, while her mother worked as a screenwriter, journalist, and PR executive. Before stepping into the world of acting, Young trained as a model and ballet dancer. She made her big-screen debut in the 1980 romantic drama Jane Austen in Manhattan, followed by a role in the 1981 comedy Stripes, where she starred alongside Bill Murray. That film was a box office hit, but it was Blade Runner in 1982, opposite Harrison Ford, that really catapulted her to international fame. She continued building her resume with roles in films like Dune and Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, but perhaps one of her most talked-about moments came when she appeared on The Joan Rivers Show in a homemade Catwoman costume, campaigning for the role in Batman Returns. Ultimately, the part went to Michelle Pfeiffer, but the stunt cemented Young's reputation as a Hollywood outlier. Despite her talent, Young's career began to falter, thanks in part to conflicts with some of Hollywood's most powerful men. She bravely spoke out against industry figures who, according to her, expected certain favors from actresses, naming names like Harvey Weinstein, Ridley Scott, Warren Beatty, Steven Spielberg, and Charlie Sheen. Sadly, this outspokenness came at a cost. Young's refusal to play by the industry's rules led to her being blacklisted and painted as difficult. One of the few people she had nothing but praise for was Jim Carrey, her Ace Ventura co-star, who supported her when others wouldn't, even vouching for her despite the rumors. Unlike Young, the next actress faded away from the limelight not because of others, but because of her own unpredictable behavior. We're talking about Debra Winger. Of Jewish descent, Winger suffered a severe car accident early in life that left her with a cerebral hemorrhage. She lost her eyesight and was partially paralyzed for nearly a year. During that difficult time, she made a promise to herself. If she recovered, she'd move to California and become an actress. And she did just that. She went on to star in acclaimed films such as An Officer and a Gentleman, Terms of Endearment, Shadowlands, and A Dangerous Woman. Her performances earned her major accolades, including an Academy Award nomination and a win from the National Society of Film Critics. So what went wrong? Despite her talent, Winger developed a reputation for being hard to work with. Take the infamous on-set clash during Terms of Endearment, for example. Her co-star Shirley MacLaine recalled in her memoir My Lucky Stars how Winger tried to boss her around, shouting at her to "get over here," and hit her marks. When MacLaine didn't respond, Winger allegedly walked over, lifted her skirt, looked back, and passed gas in her co-star's face. At the time, Winger was already well respected for her abilities, but stories like that, and her wild partying habits, made her infamous behind the scenes. Eventually, she chose to walk away from Hollywood altogether. Even urban cowboy director James Bridges had his fair share of challenges working with Debra Winger. In an interview with the New York Times, he opened up about a major clash they had on set. According to Bridges, Winger flat-out refused to perform a particular scene. Her resistance brought production to a halt, forcing the crew to shut down for the entire day. While he was initially furious, he later admitted the confrontation pushed him to reevaluate the dialogue, ultimately realizing that the script may have needed fixing after all. It wasn't an isolated incident, though. On another set, Winger claimed her co-star was the problem, describing him as emotionally impenetrable and like a brick wall. Another high-profile project in her filmography was the romantic drama An Officer and a Gentleman, where she starred opposite Richard Gere. Despite the film's massive success in the 1980s, Winger had a different view. She wasn't impressed, especially when it came to working with Gere. Unfortunately, her rocky relationships with co-stars and erratic on-set behavior became constant fodder for the media. These stories, coupled with her increasingly unpredictable reputation, gradually edged her out of the industry. Eventually, Debra Winger walked away from Hollywood completely. Next on the list is another actress who rose to fame in the late 80s and early 90s, Elizabeth Berkley. This blonde beauty first captured audiences as Jessie Spano in the hit teen series Saved by the Bell. But it was her bold leap into adult drama with Showgirls that truly marked a turning point in her career. In the 1995 film, Berkley played Nomi Malone, a fiercely ambitious dancer trying to make it big in the glitzy but grim world of Las Vegas Showgirls. Unfortunately, Showgirls was plagued by controversy from the beginning, and when it finally hit theaters, critics were brutal. Many slammed the movie for its shallow storyline and exploitative tone. Despite Berkley giving what was arguably her strongest performance, audiences found her character irritating and difficult to empathize with, which led to harsh scrutiny of her acting skills. The film's failure didn't just affect box office numbers. It had a lasting impact on Berkley's career. In a 2020 interview with People, Berkley opened up about the fallout. "There was so much cruelty around it. I was bullied," she said. "I didn't understand why I was being blamed. My job was to bring the director's vision to life, and I did everything I was asked to do." Following Showgirls, casting offers dried up, and Berkley had to shift her focus. Still, unlike some of her peers, she didn't wallow in regret or let the negativity define her. In fact, her earlier role as Jessie Spano ended up being her lifeline. When Saved by the Bell was revived by Peacock, Berkley returned as a series regular, welcomed back by fans who still remembered her with affection. Outside of acting, she built a meaningful career away from Hollywood. Berkley earned a PhD in educational psychology, became a published author of parenting books, and even took to the TED Talk stage to share insights and inspire others. Compared to the other actresses we've covered so far, Elizabeth Berkley managed to reinvent herself, one small step at a time. Now, compared to her, the next actress on this list. Her story is far more tragic. And before we go on, do you know any actresses who found success outside the Hollywood system? Drop their names in the comments below. Born on January 19, 1930, Natalie K. Tippi Hedren is a retired American actress who became a part of Hollywood's golden age. She's also the matriarch of a multi-generational acting family. Her daughter, Melanie Griffith, and granddaughter, Dakota Johnson, both followed in her footsteps and became Hollywood stars in their own right. Although Tippi became a well-known face in classic cinema, her journey through Hollywood was far from glamorous. She began her career modestly, signing with the prestigious Eileen Ford modeling agency in New York. Her first unofficial appearance on the big screen came in the film The Petty Girl. Surprisingly, Hedren wasn't drawn to acting at first. In fact, she found it monotonous and unappealing, preferring to dedicate her energy to modeling instead. Her striking beauty and poise led to a successful modeling career throughout the 1950s and into the early 1960s. During this time, she settled down in Sherman Oaks, California, living in a stylish home with her daughter Melanie, following her divorce from actor Peter Griffith. Then, her life took an unexpected turn. One day, her agent reached out with surprising news. A major Hollywood figure wanted to work with her. That man turned out to be Alfred Hitchcock. The legendary director had seen Tippi in a television commercial and became fixated on casting her. He offered her a 7-year contract, an opportunity few would ever dream of. She accepted, not knowing the difficult road ahead. Their first collaboration was the 1963 thriller The Birds, a film that catapulted Hedren into the spotlight. But working with Hitchcock came with a dark side. In an interview with Closer Weekly, Hedren later revealed how controlling he became. She was grateful for the chance he gave her, but his behavior behind the scenes was far from professional. "He wanted to shape me into a star, on his terms," she explained. "If I was talking with any man on set, my next interaction with Hitchcock would suddenly turn cold." She described how his eyes would follow her across the soundstage, watching her obsessively, even when he was speaking to others. Worse still, she claimed Hitchcock's conduct crossed disturbing lines. Hedren alleged that he would follow her home, drive past her house, and once even attempted to kiss her without consent. Despite these experiences, she was legally bound to her contract. Their next project was Marnie, a psychological drama released in 1964. It would be their last collaboration. After she refused to continue working with him, Hitchcock retaliated. He used his power to block her from taking on any new roles, effectively sidelining her career for 2 years. Still, Hedren refused to let him destroy her spirit. "He may have ruined my career," she later said, "but he didn't ruin my life." With her acting days behind her, Tippi turned to a cause that brought her peace: animal welfare. She became a passionate advocate and has remained active in that work for decades. Now, at 94 years old, Hedren has been living with dementia. According to the Daily Beast, her condition has progressed to the point where interviews are no longer possible, as she can no longer recall details of her once storied career. But her legacy lives on, not just in her films, but through the generations she inspired. If we're speaking of timeless icons from Hollywood's earlier years, Greta Garbo immediately comes to mind. The Swedish-American actress was one of cinema's most elusive and captivating figures. Widely regarded as one of the greatest screen performances in history, Garbo holds a place of honor, ranked 5th among the greatest female stars of classic Hollywood cinema. Over the course of her career, Greta Garbo appeared in 28 films and earned multiple prestigious accolades. Yet at just 35 years old, she walked away from it all. Her departure from the screen was as sudden as it was complete. She never returned, nor did she entertain offers for a comeback. It was as though she vanished from the spotlight entirely. Why did she leave? The answer, as it turns out, is deceptively simple. Greta Garbo valued solitude above all else. While most stars relish the attention that fame brings, Garbo actively avoided it. She refused to sign autographs, never responded to fan mail, and routinely skipped out on interviews and award shows, even those where she was a nominee or winner. As a contract actress under Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer MGM, her resistance to publicity was a constant frustration for the studio. Eventually, they gave up trying to force her into the limelight and accepted her terms. Her deep mistrust of the press only added to her mystique. She became nearly impossible to profile, and the media dubbed her the Swedish Sphinx, a nickname that captured her enigmatic aura. Ironically, the more reclusive she became, the more the public wanted to know about her. MGM capitalized on this intrigue, using her aloofness to fuel her image as a mysterious Hollywood icon. In one of her rare interviews given in 1928, Garbo shed light on her personality. "As early as I can remember, I have wanted to be alone," she confessed. "I've always been moody. I detest crowds. I don't like many people." After retiring from acting, she lived quietly, far removed from the glitz of Hollywood. She maintained a life of simplicity and continued to shun the media. Whenever asked about a potential return to film, she'd curtly respond, "I've made enough faces." In the 1940s, Garbo began collecting art, a passion that grew over time. By the time she passed away in 1990, her collection was estimated to be worth millions. Her story is a reminder that not all stars are forced out of the limelight. Some, like Greta Garbo, choose to leave it behind on their own terms. Next, we turn our attention to a groundbreaking performer who almost became a casualty of Hollywood's racial and political tensions, Lena Horne. An American actress, singer, dancer, and civil rights activist, Horne left an indelible mark on entertainment history. While many remember her dazzling presence and long career, few realize how close she came to being blacklisted. As an African-American performer in a segregated America, Lena Horne faced relentless obstacles. But instead of conforming to the stereotypical roles offered, maids, prostitutes, or background characters, she stood her ground. Horne refused to be typecast and, in doing so, broke new ground as the first black actress to sign a long-term contract with MGM. Born on June 30, 1917, in Brooklyn, New York, Lena Mary Calhoun Horne came from a well-educated, upper-class black family. Her mother was an actress who frequently toured with a black theater troupe, which meant young Lena was mostly raised by her grandparents. She started at the bottom, performing as part of the Cotton Club chorus line in Harlem. Her screen debut came in 1935 with Cab Calloway's Jitterbug Party. But her time at MGM was anything but smooth. Her signing angered some of her black peers, and she later wrote about how isolating the experience was. Since there was no established niche for someone like her, she constantly felt out of place. To make matters worse, Lena was often accused of trying to pass as white. Audiences were confused about her racial identity, and the studio only added to the ambiguity by suggesting she pretend to be Latina, or even darkening her skin for certain roles. Disillusioned, Horne eventually distanced herself from Hollywood and refocused her energy on music, performing in nightclubs throughout the 1950s. Then, the political climate shifted. In the early days of the Red Scare, her name appeared in red channels, a report listing supposed communist sympathizers. As a result, she couldn't book film roles for 6 years. It wasn't until she wrote to her union and met with George Sokolsky, a right-leaning anti-communist journalist, that she was finally able to clear her name. Horne made it clear that she was never involved with any communist organizations and promised to steer clear of political affiliations moving forward. Still, she refused to remain silent about the racial injustice she had endured. Lena Horne continued to speak up and became a powerful voice in the fight for civil rights. Finally, we come to Mira Sorvino, an actress whose promising Hollywood career was derailed not by lack of talent, but by standing up to a powerful predator. Best known for her Oscar-winning role in Mighty Aphrodite, 1995, Sorvino was once seen as one of the brightest young talents in Hollywood. She took home both an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress, and soon landed a string of major roles in films like Lulu on the Bridge, Mimic, The Replacement Killers, and Gods and Generals. Her success wasn't limited to the big screen. She was also praised for her television work, earning nominations for her portrayal of Marilyn Monroe in Norma Jean and Marilyn. That role brought her both a Golden Globe and a Primetime Emmy nod. By all accounts, Sorvino had a flourishing career. But behind the scenes, she had drawn the ire of one of Hollywood's most powerful producers, Harvey Weinstein. After rejecting his advances, Sorvino found herself mysteriously losing out on roles. Later revelations exposed how Weinstein had allegedly blacklisted her, warning other filmmakers not to hire her. Though she continued acting, the trajectory of her career changed drastically. Once poised for superstardom, Sorvino became one of many women whose careers were sabotaged by Weinstein's abuse of power. Her story is not just one of talent. It's one of resilience, courage, and a refusal to stay silent in the face of injustice. By 1999, Rose McGowan had largely faded from public view within the film industry. This was due, in large part, to her refusal to accept Harvey Weinstein's advances, a stance that led to her being punished, much like many other actresses who had also rejected him. Though accusations against Weinstein were circulating at the time, they lacked sufficient proof. It wasn't until stories about Weinstein's monstrous actions became more widely publicized that the true extent of his abuse was understood. Weinstein's campaign to smear McGowan's reputation further compounded the situation. He even went so far as to convince Peter Jackson, the director of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that McGowan was difficult to work with. As a result, she wasn't even considered for a role in the iconic films. However, in an act of integrity, Jackson later cleared her name, confirming that the allegations against McGowan were baseless. Another factor contributing to McGowan's disappearance from the Hollywood spotlight was her perceived lack of profitability. Despite her undeniable talent, critics noted that McGowan was never cast in a film that grossed over $100 million. While she was a skilled and popular performer, her films didn't generate the financial success that studios demanded from their leading stars. This ultimately led to her being sidelined in Hollywood's competitive landscape. Next, we turn to Rose McGowan, who made a major transition from actress to activist. She's best known for her portrayal of Paige Matthews in the Supernatural TV series Charmed and for her role as Tatum in Scream. McGowan's career started on a high note with her breakout performance in the dark comedy The Doom Generation. While Charmed enjoyed commercial success, McGowan later revealed in her memoir, Brave, that working on the show often took a physical and emotional toll on her. She frequently found herself ill due to the stressful environment. After the show wrapped, McGowan decided to rebrand herself and took on various new projects. She also became engaged to the controversial musician Marilyn Manson and later married Davey Detail, whom she divorced in 2016. Her career took several controversial turns over the years. In 2014, McGowan came under fire for comments made on the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, where she claimed that gay men could be more misogynistic than straight men. The following year, she criticized Caitlyn Jenner, the former Olympic champion, on Facebook, accusing Jenner of benefiting from male privilege. This statement was widely considered transphobic. However, what ultimately led to McGowan's Hollywood exile was her decision to publicly accuse Harvey Weinstein of sexual assault. McGowan was one of the women who received hush money from Weinstein in the form of $100,000 in exchange for her silence about the abuse she endured. The agreement was not a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, so McGowan chose to share her story with the world. Her courage didn't end there. Afterward, a colleague of Weinstein's offered her $1 million in additional hush money, which she rejected.